Thank you. Welcome. I'd like to begin by just an acknowledgement, a land acknowledgement of where we are here in Ashland. We acknowledge and honor the Aboriginal people on whose ancestral homelands we work. The Ikadrama band of the Shasta Nation, as well as the diverse and vibrant Native communities who make their home here today. We honor the first stewards in the Rogue Valley and the lands we love and depend upon. Very important. I'd like to have a brief introduction with my colleagues who are going to be speaking this evening about different parts of this presentation. First of all is Christina McCartan-Healy and Susan Jane is over here, and also Deborah Gordon. And thank you all for being here with us tonight. The focus of being an international city of peace is something that is relatively new in terms of infrastructures of peace. And Ashland has been part of this infrastructure since 2017. The beginning of this was with Fred Arment in 2009, and there are currently over 400 international cities of peace around the world now. Ashland was the 164th to join International Cities of Peace. So let us begin this journey. We're going to have a journey together, and the focal point is, where do we go from here? Because we have a great opportunity to move in new directions, because Ashland makes a difference, and you'll learn about that today. So the purpose is to enhance our experience and role as an evolving city of peace. When you're talking about being a city of peace, it is every international city of peace is an evolving city of peace. You're not done, you haven't made it, it's evolving. So we're going to be taking a look at how we became an international city of peace, Ashland, the overview of the actions we have taken and the impact we've had as an evolving city of peace. Then we're going to take a look at the current actions being taken as we further awaken to being an evolving city of peace, and then the choices and opportunities that are before us. The terminology, which is important, the infrastructures of peace. If you think about it, an infrastructure is giving it form, giving it some kind of understandable boundaries, some form to it. And there's organizations that we have, but also language gives us form. So the areas that we're talking about, the culture of peace, which is the foundation that the Ashland Culture Peace Commission developed coming into Ashland. International cities of peace are within a culture of peace. And then the city of peace itself is also within the international cities of peace. But they all influence each other. But if we take a look at where are we going, our ideal is how do we create a culture of peace in our world. To begin with, about the culture of peace. So in 1999, the United Nations, a resolution, after a lot of work that went ahead of this, in 1999, created the UN Declaration and Program of Action on a culture of peace. There are people that we've been engaged with who are part of this, one of whom was Ambassador Chowdhury, who came to Ashland, as a matter of fact, because you'll learn more about that with the students who are flame keepers, as well as David Adams, who was part of the UNESCO, he's the director there, Haven Madison, who is part of the Pathways to Peace, which is the organization I've been part of since 1980, and many others. But it really is how to move the whole concept of a culture of peace. And the United Nations at that time said, yes, this is important. And the foundation of that are 8 action areas. And I'm not going to go through them all, but fostering a culture of peace through education, promoting sustainable economic and social development, promoting respect for all human rights, etc. And this is what, in particular with Irene Kai, when we were forming the Ashland Culture Peace Commission, is like this exists here, but it's bringing together all those who are already supporting this, or how do we learn how to do this even more effectively. So, International Cities of Peace, and this is what this is. The mission, vision, and goals are why an International City of Peace is the foundation vision to ensure everyone's right to safety, prosperity, and quality of life, the consensus values of global peace. So safety, prosperity, and quality of life is really the cornerstone, or really the core of the International Cities of Peace, of City of Peace. How we support that for all people within a community, that's the focal point of International City of Peace. What do we do? To build a scalable network in situ teams committed to peace building in cities of peace around the world. So in situ is that live there, that are in that location. And how do we do this? The essential goal is to certify and recommend thousands of self-organized municipalities as cities of peace in order to put in motion a tipping force for global peace. Self-organized, because it doesn't say to be an international city of peace, you need to do these things and be this. It's really, you want to be an international city of peace. There are some guidelines to do so, to step into this role, but then it's whatever the community wants, whatever the community needs, whatever you can organize around. Therefore, here we are in what is happening in Ashland. This is the some of the people with the International Cities of Peace. This is Fred Arment, who was the founder and the chair, the directors, facilitators on different areas. It's a wonderful group of people, but it's all virtual that we come together, and so much has happened in the few years it's been in existence. It's really quite remarkable. Over 400 cities, and there are cities in China now who have joined the City of Peace, and the big impact, big impact. So here we are in Ashland as the International City of Peace, and how this began was the Ashland Culture Peace Commission began in 2015, September 21, International Day of Peace, 2015, and then having a relationship with Fred Arment and the International City of Peace, and bringing that whole idea to Mayor John Stromberg and the City Council, and had numbers of conversations with them. Excuse me a minute. And, and actually, when we first started talking to Mayor Stromberg and the City Council at that time about being the culture of peace and being a city of peace, they go, well, you know, we do roads and we do, you know, the lights and we do the sewers, and I don't know about peace. What's this? So part of it was education, understanding, and they absolutely got into this. So in 2017, had the proclamation of joining the International Cities of Peace and having Ashland become a city of peace. It's a proclamation, but it means it's a becoming. It's an evolution. And I'll just read, it won't read the whole thing, but it says, now therefore the City Council and Mayor, on behalf of the citizens of Ashland, do proclaim that the city of Ashland, Oregon, is a city of peace in perpetuity. That's important. It's in perpetuity, and encourage city and community leaders to work with concerned citizens to develop policies and procedures that promote a culture of peace in our region. So it's setting the foundation. It's setting, so doing this, being a city of peace, it sets an umbrella. So what do we want to do? We have this umbrella. So we can take action, we can organize, we can do lots of things. Give it, again, this is a infrastructure of peace. When this was passed, proclaimed, we did a ribbon tying ceremony. And so it was with the city council and chamber, others in the community, which is really cool. So, what are some of the initiatives and actions that we have taken from the very beginning? And I just want to highlight, there are many people, many organizations that are part of creating a city of peace in all the things that we do. So many things. Everyone has a role. Everyone has a part. It's just like, you know, everyone has a responsibility also. So from the very beginning, we worked with the travelers and those who are home, we call them without homes, unhoused is the name we'd say. But from the very beginning of the Ashland Culture Peace Commission, and this was in Railroad Park, when they first started having the community meals with Jason and Vanessa, and we worked with them, and creating talking circles. We had peace talking circles. We worked for 5.5 years with the winter shelters to be sure that there were shelters supporting them, training for the staff, training for volunteers. So we're deeply involved with that part of the community. We had our commissioners who were absolutely outstanding. Ty O'Mara, chief, is one of the commissioners. Bert Etling at that time, the Daily Tidings, others, the judge, and we had people who really cared about the community as our commissioners. And we also had brought community together every week. We had community meetings, and people come off the street, come off from their homes. But it's really time to come together and talk about concerns, issues of the time. And we also got out and had fun. We also said, okay, here we are. We're in the community. So that was one of our 4th of July ventures. And here's some of our team in the office that we had, which is a lot of fun. This is Irene Kai, co-founder of the Ashland Culture Peace Commission. Yay, Irene. And this is working with Chief O'Mara in the Ashland Police Department and the Police to Peace program. And we introduced this to Chief O'Mara and the department. And they said, yes, let's begin. And part of that was putting peace officer on all of their vehicles. But part of that is also switching the concept of thinking of community to police officers, as well as their police officers said, oh, they saw themselves differently in this role, which is really important. So now a significant adventure was the World Peace Flame Monument, and which there's a beautiful story behind this. And the monument is from the World Peace Flame Foundation. It's one flame uniting people worldwide. And Irene Kai, who you saw a moment ago, by, quote, accident, no such thing, discovered the World Peace Flame, the original World Peace Flame in Wales. It just turned a car into a place you didn't know, and all of a sudden there it was. And from that experience and from the invitation of the woman there, learning about the World Peace Flame, they said, bring it to Ashland. She said, that was her inspiration, deep inspiration to say, yes, this is in my heart, I want to bring this to Ashland. And we did. So this is the beginning. She had a candle that was lit by the World Peace Flame in Wales. Brought that, this is in the launch of the Ashland Culture Peace Commission with the Peace Flame that she brought this. Then developing this, it took 3 years actually, to create get the oil lamp, the World Peace Flame lamp, and have it installed in the Thalden Pavilion. And we had this amazing lighting ceremony. It was really awesome. It was, again, International Day of Peace, September 21, 2018. And it was the community showed up. It was a very powerful, energetic day. There's so much that happened, and the peace choir sang, and it was just really amazing. But this is the, speaking there. this is the lighting of the World Peace Flame. And just so happens, across the street is what? Is the Ashland Middle School. So, as this is taking place, it actually before this took place, we were in communication with Christina Healy, and she'll talk for a moment about this. But what happened was their students became the flame keepers of the World Peace Flame, which meant that they cared for it. And this is, I mean, giving some instruction about caring for the World Peace Flame. And this is the World Peace Flame lamp, and it lit. And so the students cared for this once a week, cleaned it, refueled it, and it was really quite amazing. So please, Christina, would you tell us your experience and what happened with the students?
Yeah, I will. Thank you. Well, it all started. Oops, turn this on. I'm Christina McCartan-Healy, and I am a retired teacher now from Ashland Middle School. I had the great fortune to be a teacher in this school district for 23 years, with 2 years out to teach in Shanghai, an international school there. I've been a great follower of Jane Goodall since I was 10, and she runs a very huge progressive program called Roots and Shoots. And the focus of that is community, animals, and the environment. So for the more than 10 years, I've always had that as part of my program as a teacher. And so they, someone from the Ashland Peace saw an article of us in the paper of some of the work that we were doing, and all of a sudden I got this letter at the middle school saying, hey, would you consider? And then I said, well, of course, let's talk. And then the Peace Flame was coming. And so that was a huge link to, they came in and talked to the kids about it. What do you think about this? This was a class that the kids could choose to take, sort of like an elective. And they thought it was an amazing thing. Like, they would let us, you know, middle schoolers, like, they'd let us fill the Peace Flame that's like connected to the world. I'm like, yeah, you're the ones. I mean, and so that was so empowering to them that they could have that responsibility. And so the first year we were there at the lighting, and the flame went through many, many, many hands, from our amazing Grandma Aggie, who has now crossed the bridge, all the way down to my student, that spectrum of, you know, of people. And then it was beautiful. That was a beautiful day, and all the kids were there, and we had brought our peace dove with us as well. And so every Friday, we filled the flame, and they were very responsible about it. And we kept in contact with David and Irene, and they offered us great T-shirts, which is a great deal for middle schoolers to get a T-shirt. And then this young man actually spoke the next year at your, what was that big conference you had?
It was the Global Peace Conference.
The Global Peace, yes. And an incredible man that is now at OSU studying engineering. But anyway, the next year then is when the ambassador of Bangladesh came. And he actually came to speak at this conference, came across to our school, and the kids all got to meet him there. We had the duff line, and then all the Roots and Shoots kids guided him across the street to the flame, and got to explain the flame, the purpose, what we've done. And we refilled the flame in front of him. And then he had made so emotional, a certificate for every single one of the students. Even my students from the high school came back for this. And he presented each of them. Here they are, like, an ambassador. And where's Bangladesh? And what does that mean? And all of that. And like, and for a 7th, 8th, at that time 9th grader, to be honored so deeply. And again, they were like, me? Like, you know, little old middle schooler me? It was incredible. It was nothing that any lesson plan could ever do for anyone, those of you in the educational field. But anyway, so we continued on, and we filled the flame for 4 years. And then in 22, I retired. And I was very hopeful that someone at the school would take that on, and no one quite wanted the responsibility at the time. And so I, now in my 2nd year of retirement and feeling more solid on the ground of my own 2 feet, I've reached out to David and Irene again and said, okay, it's time. And I was sort of motivated by, again, Jane Goodall is turning 90 August 3rd and is out there just doing amazing things still. And I thought, just because you're retired, you're 63 and really healthy. I mean, come on, what can you do? And I'm like, I'm calling David. So, so we met last week, and I learned about this opportunity, and hope to be able to. I'm traveling again for another month, but back in the spring to hopefully reconnect with the middle school and guide other schools and other cities to be able to connect to that part of the community. I mean, it's our future. And for them to have such incredible times around the peace flame, it was quite beautiful. And actually, this one girl graduated, and she said, after graduation, I want to come and bring my family. She brought her family to the peace flame, and she filled it that day. I mean, that was all just her own doing. So things like that kept happening. The very last time I filled it, my retirement day, my own children and my partner's children were there for my retirement festivities, and they filled it with David and Irene. So it has some pretty intense, amazing power / possibilities. So I hope you all consider doing that as you're on your peace journey.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. And there are a couple of times when, when we interviewed the students after they had been flamekeepers for a while, and it was amazing what they would say. They felt like they learned what peace is and how they can do it in their families, and how it's a responsibility for them, and how they also contribute to greater peace in the world. I mean, it was just really a shift in mindset. And that's, let me just stay for a moment, that's what we're really about. With the Ashland Global Peace Commission, with the International Cities of Peace, I'll tell you a little bit more about work that we're doing with the UN. It's about mindset, a shift of heart, of consciousness, which is taking place. Even with all the horrible things that are happening in the world, there's a major shift that is taking place, and it's happening. So thank you very much for this. So another step that we took, again, this is about the shift in consciousness. So this was in March 26, 2019. Irene was invited to the State Senate, the Oregon State Senate, to provide an invocation, which she did, and this was the invocation that she read, and it was very wonderful, but again, to the senators, and this is her in the Senate. It was a very powerful moment. Again, influence, that's what we're about. So this is a message from Fred Arment to us, because of the role Ashland has played and the important influence that we have in the International Cities of Peace Association. Please.
Greetings and peace and goodwill for all of you who gather at the important and profound Rogue Valley Metaphysical Library in Ashland, of which I've heard many good things. As chair of the board for the Association of International Cities of Peace, I have the honor not only of addressing you today, but also in bringing good wishes from the leaders of over 400 cities of peace in 75 countries on all 6 continents. I want to commend the people and organizations of Ashland, Oregon, and know that your impact is much larger than just your specific community. Ashland, with leaders David Wick and Irene Kai, among others, is considered an innovator among the many cities of peace. With Ashland Culture of Peace Commission and the World Peace Flame in Ashland and other innovations, your community stands as a mentor, a guiding light, a city committed to building a true culture of peace for others around the world. And the City of Peace ideal is thousands of years old, and it continues in our psyche as a vision for what we might attain in the world ahead. And I commend the work of the Metaphysical Library and those who continuously engage and investigate the depths of humanity's arc toward the good and the just. Congratulations on your work. I thank you sincerely.
So, Fred Arment, he often mentions Ashland in the meetings that we have, in the International Cities of Peace meetings. Oop, so I want to go. So let's take a look at some of the current actions that we're taking right now. I mean, so we had COVID, things closed down, got quiet, they needed to, and now it's coming back and saying, okay, we are that city of peace, and we do count, and our voice matters out in the world. So what is that now? So this was last May in 2013, coming together with Precious Yamaguchi. At that time, they had the Catalyst on Main Street. And so this is with Mayor Tanya Graham and State Representative Pam Marsh. They all spoke about how important this is. Actually, Pam Marsh and our state senator, Jeff Golden, they were part of our commission, Ashland Culture Peace Commission, to begin with. So they're very strong about this. So on December 5th of this last year, Mayor Graham made a peace proclamation because of the Islamophobia and the language and the disrespect that was happening with the Islamophobia and anti-Semitism that was taking place. And so she wrote up the whole document. And in the document, she also says, and it's titled City of Peace Statement. In 2017, Ashland declared itself a city of peace. It is in moments like this that we bring that declaration to life by making peace tangible for our neighbors, friends, and our family members. So again, it counts. It's part of our culture now. And this is what I was reading from. And here we are tonight. So this is part of our action. This is part of moving forward. So the choices and opportunities that we have before us as a city of peace, there are some that are right in front of us, and there are many yet for us to create. So one of them is Peace Lantern Ceremony. And this is the brilliant idea of Deborah.
My name is Deborah Gordon, and I shall try to be uncharacteristically brief this evening. I originally met David last May in a discussion of Ashland as a city of peace, and I am also, it is worth noting, part of the great California to Oregon migration or invasion, depending on your perspective. But before I left the Bay Area, I recalled attending something called the Peace Lantern Ceremony several times, and it's been coordinated by a guy named Steve Friedkin back in the Bay Area in Berkeley. And there is a chance for anyone who would like to participate to create these beautiful lanterns, as you see, to commemorate the lives of anyone they may have lost over time, or to honor people they may have known about in any capacity. There are speakers and there's music, and then at about twilight or around sunset, they float the lanterns across the bay, and across the Quatter Creek, not across the bay. And it's really very beautiful. And in Japan and around the world, people will gather early in August to float lanterns in remembrance of the victims, specifically of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, all of whom were victims of war, and all who may have gone before us in other capacities. This is moving and beautiful tradition, provides a chance for all of us to reaffirm our commitment to building a better and more peaceful future. And it's gotten me thinking, as I've come here, that in each of our personal orbits, especially those of us who are not, quote, influencers at the political level, or even if you are or maybe know someone who is, all of us can create peace in our own paths and orbits and parts of the world. We can offer at the very least our hearts with love and our ears to listen without judgment. I know this means a lot when someone does it for me, and whatever other love, help, and peace we may have. So as Steve has done in the Bay Area, I came to him and asked if he might be into helping us create such a ceremony here. And actually, David and I and Steve and Suleiman Shelton, who works at the Parks and Rec, I believe, I forget his exact title, we are going to be meeting on Zoom on Friday again. But we want to create an Ashland Peace Lantern ceremony to both remind people of what has passed, what is happening literally as we speak. There are currently 32 armed conflicts in the world, by the way, and what we can do, great or small, in our own worlds and paths. So stay tuned and think peace.
Thank you very much, Deborah. And again, ceremonial. This counts too. This is important. For example, on August 6th, for years now, Peace House has been organizing a Hiroshima and Nagasaki vigil, which takes place in Lithia Park, which is really important to do, the remembrance, but also the reminder that we all make choices, and we all have an influence. So thank you. We look forward to this possibility this coming year. Another step that is here and before us, which is corporate social responsibility. How many have heard of that before?
It's a good idea.
Not many. So corporate social responsibility is that. It is the business world, the corporations, and how do they support communities. We have an outstanding, experienced expert in this arena, and Susan Jane. So she's going to tell us more and how this relates to, so there's corporate social responsibility, but how does it relate to the international cities of peace? Susan, please.
All right. Thank you, David. My name is Susan McCracken-Jen, and I was actually born and raised in Ashland, Oregon. Relatively few people I've met so far can say that. But I traveled away for university and for my career and recently returned home. But that was after working across the world, living in Shanghai, China, in Bangalore, India, in Singapore, and in Dubai. Working in environments that included countries that are non-trade countries with the United States, some of the countries that are the worst performing in terms of their corruption in the annual corruption index, being in Bangalore when the cricket stadium was bombed. Maybe sort of in a funny way to move the finals to a different city where they would get more participants, but it was certainly a scary moment because we'd also already had a bombing in a cafe, for example, that was frequented by expats. So having gone through these experiences, I think, gives me a bit of an international perspective that when I had the serendipity of meeting David and Irene at a non-related activity, we kind of immediately clicked, met with Fred, and sort of remarkably have the opportunity to work towards the launch of the CSR initiative. So why me being involved with this? Part of what I did when I was working overseas was to lead corporate social responsibility programs in various parts of the world for a major multinational, a Fortune 50 company in US terms. It was a great privilege for me because I had majored in urban planning in school, intended to go save the world, and then ended up in a corporate job doing nothing like what I had majored in, except here was an opportunity to actually do things and to, as we like to say, do well and do good at the same time. So I'm very privileged to work with David and from Ashland, little Ashland, Oregon, be a part of launching something that we think will be very important for the international cities of peace globally, as well as for society. And David talked about infrastructure of peace, and that's why CSR programs are so important, because they are a ready infrastructure for peace. If you think of the international cities of peace as a ready supply of programs, of volunteers, of efforts that are rigorous, that are very high integrity, shovel ready, as the team likes to say. And then you have demand from the corporates who have volunteers and who have money and who have infrastructures of their own in many cases. To bring those two together, you've got the supply, you've got the demand, and you've got a ready opportunity to really have meaningful impact. When I was working in India, for example, we had a program on the centennial of the company that I was working for, where we had the intention of getting 40,000 people in our company to do community service in a 1-week period. Many of those people already had their favorite activities. It was a very activist population, but others needed opportunities, and they needed to know what kinds of organizations they might work for as a group, as a team from the company, as individuals, as families even. We supported them to do that, so we needed that marriage in order to do something of that scale. And we did. So taking a step back in terms of corporate social responsibility programs so that everyone has got the same grounding in them. You know, it is a business model that has been adopted quite ubiquitously worldwide to provide, where businesses commit to operate in ways that enhance rather than degrade communities in which they operate. And when you think about multinationals, you're thinking about all over the world. But it can also mean local important companies too. And the meaning of it varies by location. And again, that's the beauty of putting together the cities of peace and the CSR programs, so that they can have localized impact that is meaningful where they are. Why do corporations do this? Well, there's the part that's about connoting a good brand image. You know, if you're a company that may use perhaps more resources from the earth or from the people than others may find are acceptable, this is a way to balance that out and to give back. It raises the morale of the people. So in that day when we had 40,000 people, that week when we had 40,000 people out doing good, I can't tell you how wonderful that felt. And increasingly, it's an important aspect of talent and of success of the businesses. So, and this is particularly true if you start to look at Gen Z, right? So people who were born after 1997, so the new professional and population class that are coming forward, 70%, I'm going to give a couple of facts here, 70% of Gen Z consumers are willing to spend more on products from socially responsible companies. And with 2 children in that age group, including one who has a baby and buys very expensive diapers, to prove that fact, I have firsthand correlation that those are decisions that they are willing to make. In addition, 72% of Gen Z folks, according to a survey, believe that companies should do more. So not only is what's happening today important, that companies should actually do more. And when you think about the fact that in more than 50% of the world, can you hear?
It's under your arm.
Oh, where is it now? I'm sorry. Lost my microphone. Sorry. All right. That in more than 50% of the world, so countries such as India, the continent of Africa, China, much of Asia, 50% of the population is under the age of 30. The significance of this, speaks for itself. So, as a consequence, I hope, despite my mic drop, not the kind that they talk about on TikTok, that you've been able to hear this, and thank everyone for participating and for the opportunity to get this program off the ground and to be making a difference, and welcome any and all suggestions about how to make it go faster. Thank you.
That's great, Susan. And so this, again, is a relationship that is enhancing the community. And with what you just said, Susan, I would say with the younger generation, no one ran around telling them they need to think this way. It's happened. That's mindset shift. There's a heart shift. So that's a factor that is very important for us to know. So this, again, with International Cities of Peace, we're again, Ashland, playing our role in the leadership role, is assisting. This relationship is brand new. And so this is part of, just like here in Ashland, as we take some steps forward, we want to use this as a resource. So Susan is wonderfully experienced to help us do this. So this, again, part of this is the value proposition for corporate response sustainability program. There you go. And sustainability, obviously, is a major difference in businesses. And there's a whole story that I wish we had time to talk about in Afghanistan, what is happening there, and also with the corporate social responsibility. So we can reach to the world with the multinationals, but also local businesses, local relationships. That's key. Every city in the world has a corporate, businesses or corporates who we can, establish a relationship with for resources, for support. So it's mutual. So very important that happened September 21st of this last year in Derry, Londonderry, Ireland. Do you know where Derry, Londonderry is in Ireland? I'll show you. It's right here. One of the very hot areas in the past of heavy conflict, of Bloody Sunday, of major religious strife. The troubles in Ireland, yes. And people have done a lot of work over time, and important work over time. And on September 21st of this last year, Derry, Londonderry became an international city of peace. The major event, Fred Arment was invited to be the keynote speaker, and it was a big deal. It was on the BBC, it was a major event, it was really quite amazing. And this is David Latimer, and he's been a prime mover in the peace building, relationship developing over years. And he is a minister. But he's been a prime mover in this. So this is a very big deal, this place. This is the mayor of Londonderry, and this is Fred Arment, as you may know. So again, a special relationship has developed between Ashland and Londonderry. One of the reasons is we have a World Peace Flame. They have a World Peace Flame. The only two cities in this whole network that have peace flames. Ashland actually is only the second in the United States that has a World Peace Flame. The other one is Memphis, Tennessee, in the Civil Rights Museum. So there's the World Peace Flame there. But we have a special relationship now that is established, and Fred Arment helped this happen, between Ashland and Londonderry, and it's brand new. And it's ours to co-create, particularly with David Latimer. And he has young people who are excited about this. He has community, but it's still, like, what are we going to do with this? It's all to us. So David has something to say.
Hello to you all, and greetings from the Emerald Isle. Each year, International Peace Day is celebrated on the 21st day of September. Last year, on that most important of days, Londonderry was declared an International City of Peace. We're thrilled to belong to an international network of peace cities and look forward to sharing our story, which takes us from darkness to light, with people living in places where presently there is no peace. In his New Year message, the Archbishop of Canterbury says, and I quote, "We seem to see wars everywhere at the moment. We need to seek and to make peace." Would to God the voice of the peacemaker was heard above the din of war. So, to build a better future, not just for ourselves, but for others, no matter where they live or what their creed or their colour or culture is, we need to pick up the key of togetherness. That alone can open a door to reveal an untrodden road. A road, I believe, that will be broad enough and wide enough for all of us to set our feet and to start walking, determined to let nothing or no one deflect us from shaping a world built around security, prosperity, and quality of life for all. So help us God. To finish, just a few words in Irish. Our Aile Lakila Maharja is Shaw and Balach. Gura Mila Mai Ugad. Gumani Giashiv. Meaning, forward together, my friends. This is the way. Thank you, and God bless you all. Hello to you.
So just hold it right there for a moment. So here we are. We have this wonderful new relationship with Londonderry, and yet to be developed. One of the things he's talked about is with students there, focusing on climate and what can we do here jointly together. We communicate via our electronics and so on, but keep this in mind. This is new territory. So David and I communicate predominantly through WhatsApp now, but we had our Zoom calls, and so they're very excited about this. So the last focus area I want to share with you is something that's really, really substantial, to create peace on earth by 2030. the second order change. In 1986, David Gershon, well, prior to that, he had the inspiration, but in 1986, David Gershon initiated the Earth First Run. You may recall that, the first Earth Run. And a torch with a flame was literally brought around the world, from country to country and around the world. And heads of state joined in, our president, the president of China. It was a very big deal. They had the Olympic runners part of the running this flame and so on. And from that whole experience, it touched, media-wise, it touched 1 billion people directly at 49 million. So, but from that experience, he really learned a whole lot about a tipping point of people engagement. And so right now, we've established Peace on Earth by 2030, the game. And I'm engaged with that right now. There are hundreds of people. Actually, they beta tested this for 5 years all around the world. The African Union is deep into this, wanting Africa to be the first continent to really engage in this in a way that is throughout the country. But anyhow, I just wanted to say there's a lot going on here. It's something that I'm engaged in right now. The Rotary Club, Rotary International is engaged with this. And I'll bring more information about this, but it is to have small groups together to create these teams. And it's a game of sorts, but it's really about personally learning new things as we do our daily life. And this also influences the community, and it spreads to the community. And the point is to create a network in the community, which is very, very powerful. And so it's creating peace on earth zones where we live. And this can be very much done here in Ashland. So I just wanted to bring this to our attention, more information to come on this. And so for and those of you who are watching at home, thank you for staying with us during this time. And hopefully it's been informative and interesting for you. And these are the contacts that for more information. The Ashland Cultural Peace Commission, ashlandcpc.org, International Cities of Peace, internationalcitiesofpeace.org, Peace on Earth by 2030, peace2030.earth. That goes to the website. And so we're in this cycle right now. The next one starts, I think it's in May. Everyone can be involved. It would be great to have a lot of people here in Ashland involved with that. And my own email address for information, davidwick111@gmail.com. So this concludes our journey, but what's the point here? The point is that we all have a contribution to make, and it counts. And what we do here counts, and what we do. And anyone who's watching, you can create a city of peace where you live. Go to the internationalcitiesofpeace.org and learn about, there's information about how to create a city of peace. So this is something that can be done elsewhere. But let me just say, now what are our ideas moving forward? What are our ideas to inspirations to move forward? So that's where we are. And those of you who have been watching, thank you very much. Take a look at what you are inspired to do where you live. If you have inspirations you want to share with us, please send it to me, davidwick111@gmail.com. And we're going to conclude in terms of the live stream here, but we could just talk for a moment amongst ourselves here about Ashland further. But I just want to thank everyone for being here, being part of this, and the inspiration to say, okay, let's look further at how we make this happen. Again, there is a shift taking place. And what we all do is contribute to, it's an energetic shift. And that there's a lot of work being done in that arena at the UN and elsewhere in the positive direction. So thank you very much. Thank you all for being with us. Appreciate it a lot. Bye for now. See you around.